to the Becoming You show, where limits get torched and possibility takes the mic. I'm Leah Roling, human in permanent beta, neurostrategist, mom to 3 amazing humans, married to 1 legendary soul, and your no fluff permission slip to stop waiting. Every week, we rewire brain patterns, smash hand-me-down mindsets, and dive into the daring, identity-shifting conversations most people dodge. Ready to turn potential into proof? Grab your pen. Your next chapter starts now. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the Becoming You show. I am your host, and I am honored that you pushed play, that you showed up again. And whether or not you're on your walk or you're folding laundry or you're making dinner, wherever it is that this finds you, I hope that you feel the love in my voice and a hug from my heart. I want to dive right in to this conversation because it's a really, really important one. I want to take you inside a room that I will never forget. I was attending a leadership conference and I was participating just last week, and I was participating in a mastermind session, just one of the many experiences that we had at this workshop. But in particular, this one was designed to help us kind of reflect and recalibrate and realign. And the notion of it was to complete like this 1-page personal plan, if you will. So we were asked to look at 5 areas of our life. So we were asked to look at faith and family and friends and fitness and finance. And the question that we were asked to reflect on is, where are you most aligned? And then the opposite, where are you not? Where are you misaligned? It was meant really to be just kind of this quick self-check. But as we were going through it, it became a moment for me of like collective, like reckoning. I know that sounds like a big word, but that's the word that came, like a collective reckoning. I'm like, holy smokes. Here's why. Because every single person who shared in an area of misalignment had nothing to do with strategy. Nothing. It had everything to do with relationships. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Faith. I've lost touch with God. Family. I don't even recognize who I am in my marriage. Friends. I've isolated myself for years. Fitness. I'm doing all the things, but I hate my body. Finance. I'm making money, but I don't feel in partnership with my team or myself. Okay, every breakdown, every single one came back to people and the relationship with those people. And most often it came back to the person in the mirror, right? To us. And it reminded me of something so foundational that I sometimes forget to say it out loud. And it has everything to do with the work that I get to do in the world. I help people with their people. I know that seems so obvious, but to me, I was just like, holy smokes. I help people with their people. That's what I do. All of the work, all of the tools that I have created were in order to help people with their people by way of helping me first. So whether it's spouses, whether it's kids, whether it's parents, whether it's teams, most importantly, whether it's themselves, it got me thinking like, wait a second here, we don't suffer because we don't care. We suffer because we weren't taught these things. We weren't taught how to be with emotions. We weren't taught how to lead when it's hard. We weren't taught how to feel without fixing or fleeing or freeing or numbing, right? We weren't taught how to have conversations without abandoning ourselves. And I just did a podcast on this one last week. I hope you give it a listen, because I broke down 2 really powerful frameworks on how to not only have a conversation, but how to receive one. So this episode is my offering to every brilliant human I had the privilege of sitting beside, in front of, around that week. Every story cracked something open. And in each one, I saw not just the pain, but all of ours. All of ours, me, you. My guess is that you'll find yourself somewhere in this too, because this just isn't about leadership. It's not just about becoming, it's about being human. It's complex, it's emotional, it's beautiful. And learning how to be with it, all of it, without losing yourself in it, is massive. So again, the question, where are we out of alignment? Where are we in alignment? So let's go back to the room. People weren't talking about performance. They weren't asking for strategy. They were talking about pain. One woman shared how her family feels kind of like this pressure cooker, right? Her kids are unmotivated. Her spouse is emotionally unavailable. She feels like she is holding it all together, but barely. She's tired. She's snapping more than she wants to. And when she tries to talk about it, she's met with defensiveness. She's met with silence. Right? People. A man opened up about his finances. He's doing well, but he's in constant friction and conflict with his business partner. Competing visions, power dynamics, avoided conversations. He knows he needs to address it, but every time he does, his throat closes up. So he keeps the peace, and inside, resentful. Both of them, people, both of them, conversations. Another woman, she broke down talking about her fitness journey. She's meal prepping. She's doing the weight training. She's following the plan to a T. But the weight isn't moving. Right? This isn't about calories. This is not about calories at all. It's about the relationship that she has with her body and herself and what she makes the weight mean. Every story, every single one was a story about people in having conversations, not having conversations, abandoning themselves, right? And that also includes the internal ones, the internal stories. And it always, always boils down to an internal story. I believe that alignment in these categories with anything doesn't break because we're not trying hard enough. Good Lord. It breaks because we don't know how to be with what's hard. We don't know we don't know how to handle it. Most of us have not been taught how to handle hard, how to embrace it, how to leverage it, how to lean into it. So here's what we do when we don't know how to be with what's hard. We blame it away. We blame it on the diet. We blame it on the family. We blame it on our business partner. We buffer, right? You've heard me talk about buffering as a psychological term to underfeel. So in these cases, all of their buffering created more resistance, more pain, less progress. When we buffer, when we're trying to lose weight, what do we do? What do we do when we try to buffer the emotion of frustration because we're not losing weight? We eat. We watch Netflix. Blaming ourselves, the scale is not motivating. Or we just bury it. And burying it can look like two ways. One, we self-isolate. We remove ourselves from the impact that we can have on the world. Or two, we falsify. I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I'm fine. More importantly, how are you? Let's take all the attention off of me and let's talk about you. Okay? So let's walk through what that looks like in real life. Let's talk about spouses. Right? Your partner walks in tense, they're short with you, you're exhausted too, right? But instead of checking in with your own nervous system, you absorb their energy. And we do that. It's called mirroring neurons. That's what we do. It's a biological way of us to relate to one another. So that's what we do. We match it. We react to it. And now we're in a fight. And no one even knows what it's really about. People, kids. Your kid forgets an assignment. Your blood pressure spikes. You're all frustrated. Not because you don't love them. Not because the assignment really is that big of a deal. But because their failure activates your fear that you're not doing enough, that you're somehow not a good enough mom or a good enough dad. So instead of feeling that fear, instead of letting it invite you in, allowing you to process, ask what's really going on here, you go into control mode. And when you're in control mode, guess what happens, friends? You make the conversation harder. Because when you go into control mode, you give your kiddos a reason to not feel safe. When your kids don't feel safe in having a conversation with you, then they begin to blame themselves. And blame is never motivating. Blame is not the way to get your kids to do their homework. Right? Teams. What does it look like on teams? Someone on your team drops the ball. What do? What do we typically do? We micromanage. Right? We over control. And they feel it. They feel that we don't trust them. And instead of having a conversation, a spark conversation, instead of having one of those where we talk about the facts, we paint the impact, right? We ask, we acknowledge, we circle back, we know the next steps. Instead of doing that, instead of having a conversation, we just micromanage the behavior. It hardly ever works. Or you just distance yourself, right? You just dismiss it to avoid conflict. Maybe you even smile all while simmering. And then that resentment turns to, passive aggressiveness in the next meeting, right? Because disappointment is uncomfortable. And most of us were never taught how to hold it. We were never taught how to navigate it, how to use it as an asset in our life. We've all been taught it's a liability. We've not been taught how to use it to be stronger, to be smarter, to be a more valuable version of ourselves in the world. And when we lack what I'll just call this emotional maturity, right? Because we don't know how to navigate hard, we don't just avoid emotion, we avoid truth. And truth is where alignment begins. If we're out of alignment, if we're misaligned, there's a truth gap. So when we don't feel, as I mentioned, we blame, we buffer, right? We say fine when we're anything but. We scroll when we're lonely. We snack when we're bored. We shop when we feel powerless. We overhelp when we don't want to sit with our own stuff. And then, as I mentioned, we punish ourselves for it. Why did I eat that? Why did I blow money again? Why did I zone out and waste the entire night? Buffering isn't a weakness. It's been our coping mechanism. That is what we have been taught, right? That is what we've been taught. It kicks in when we've never just been taught how to just sit in stillness and feel. And this is a really big one, you guys, for leaders, okay? This came up a few times at that workshop. When we don't want to be with the hard, when we don't want to sit in what is and feels like an uncomfortable emotion, we work, we hustle, we pour ourselves into productivity, not because we're not driven, but because we're driving away from the very thing that's calling us in, that ache of disappointment, that ache of disconnection, that ache of feeling unseen, unappreciated, or just flat out not enough. That ache of worry, that ache of uncertainty, that ache of confusion, all of it. So instead of sitting in it, we run into work, we run into meetings, we run into our inboxes, into our deadlines, and just one more thing on the calendar, which doesn't, by the way, involve sitting still, processing hard in order to become stronger on the other side. Right? We trade emotional discomfort for achievement. But here's the double whammy in that, friends. That work, it doesn't usually lead into more productivity. It just leads to more discontent. Because no amount of productivity will absolve the hard. It leads to more discontent because now you're not just avoiding what hurts, you're amplifying it. You're exhausted, you're disconnected, you're distracted, and further from the people, the purpose that matter the most. And the real problem in all of this is that we've just normalized everything except feeling. All of that is normal. But feeling, for whatever reason, isn't. And when I think about that, you know what's wild to me? We've completely normalized physical pain, right? We've completely normalized it. You crush a squat day, and you can't sit straight for 3 days, and everyone's like, good job, let's go. That means you're growing. You're sore, good sign, keep it up. You're sweating, awesome. You're uncomfortable, right? Means you're doing it right. What do they say? If you're not sore the next day, you probably didn't squat to 90, right? But what happens when we're emotionally sore? What happens when we feel that ache of discomfort, that ache of uncertainty, that ache of embarrassment, that ache of shame, right? What happens when you feel overwhelmed at home and you try to hide it, right? What happens when we do that, right? People don't know what to do with it. People just want to fix it. They want to just mask over it and just, tell you you're going to be fine, rub some dirt on it, right? Isn't that just mind-blowing? We wear muscle pain like a badge of honor. Congratulate it. We ask about it. When was the last time you asked somebody, hey, how's that discomfort going for you? Right? We don't. We make emotional pain taboo. But we wouldn't think twice about, oh, you're working out. Nice. You're sore. Good job. Right? We talk about being sore like it's power, but being sore from life, we pretend it's a weakness. And here's the truth. Emotional soreness, right? That psychological toughness is a sign of capacity. It's a sign of becoming. It's a sign of resilience, right? You're stretching muscles, heart and mind that you didn't even know existed by way of breaking old patterns, right? You're holding responsibility for your own emotion instead of outsourcing it. That deserves applause. That deserves appreciation. That deserves to be normalized. That deserves a conversation. But yet we don't have a conversation about it. Unless our life is awesome, most of us just don't talk about it. We don't share about it. But certainly we can share about feeling miserable and lousy after a hard workout at the gym. So this all brings me to the first of two truths that I want to share with you that I don't believe that we were ever really taught. Okay. And I've talked about them on the podcast before, but I really want to bring it home because it's really important to understand this conversation of hard, wrapping around the idea that life is hard. It's supposed to be hard. It was never supposed to be easy. And yet somewhere in our mind, we think that it should have been. Life is 50-50. 50% joy, 50% challenge, 50% clarity, 50% confusion, 50% peace, 50% pressure. Okay. It's not meant to be all good. Hear me say that. It's not meant to be all good. There is a balance to this universe. It's meant to be whole. And when we stop resisting the hard stuff, we stop thinking that something's wrong with us for feeling it, we can open up to it and allow ourselves in it. You're not broken because you feel anxious. You're not failing because life feels hard. You're not weak because you don't have it all figured out. You're just human living the 50-50 of life. That is what we're doing. And if we all could understand that, we would have more compassion with not only ourselves, but the other humans in our life. Okay, the second truth that I want to bring forward, right, is that emotional maturity is the cheat code. It is the cheat code. It doesn't mean that you don't feel pain. It means that you're not afraid of it. It means that you can say, I feel anger and I don't need to take it out on you. I feel sadness and I'm not going to try to eat my way through it. I feel fear and I still choose to show up brave. It means you stop making your emotional world somebody else's responsibility. Because when we delegate our emotions over and onto the world, we slow down the progress of our life. And when you stop making other people's emotional world yours, you become powerful. That is leadership. That is freedom. Nobody is responsible of absolving you from the pain that you're going through. No one needs to. That's your job. And you don't need to be held responsible for absolving anyone else from theirs. That's their job. It would be like, hey, you want to get stronger? You want to have ripped quads? Let me go into the gym. Let me do some squats for you. Oh, you want strong abs? I'll do some abs while I'm at it. That doesn't make you stronger. It makes me stronger. Do you see this? So here's my invitation to you. Stop trying to feel better. I know that seems completely counterintuitive in this world. Start trying to feel fully. At the end of the day, when you start to feel full, you will subsequently start feeling better because you will stop trying to outrun the part of your life that's hard. It's not, you cannot outrun it. You cannot out-eat it. You can't outwork it. It is the way it is. It's resisting reality. It's the definition of resisting reality. Normalize the emotional soreness for yourself and for others. You don't need to fix it. There's nothing to fix. It's happening just as it should be. And then learn how to sit with it. Learn how to sit with what's real, with what's hard, without buffering or blaming or breaking. Because when you do, you'll find your peace. You'll find your power. And most importantly, you will find you. You will find you. So if this resonated with you at all, share it. Share it with somebody. Share it with somebody that you care about, that you know, that's navigating maybe some hard stuff, and they're trying to resist it. Re-listen to it. If you're navigating hard stuff and you finally realize that, hey, resisting it isn't helping, I appreciate you being here. I really do. Thanks for feeling all of this with me. Keep becoming, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. If this episode cracked something open, good. Let it. And then head to leahrolingcoaching.com and grab the tools to rewire the story and reclaim your future. It is yours. And then share this with someone who's still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for permission, and remind them they don't need a breakthrough, that they are the breakthrough. Until next time, my beautiful friends, invest in you and keep becoming.